International security specialist. Afzal Ashraf is joining me now live from London. Afzal, good to have you in the programme. Now, you don't believe that Israel's strategy in Gaza has precedence or a plan for success, but given their objective is, of course, to eliminate Hamas, doesn't that the pace and level of the destruction show that they are actually achieving their aims?
Well, I think as one of your reporters just mentioned, they're not achieving the aims in as much that Hamas is still able to operate despite the huge amount of bombing and incursions and so on. But I'm not sure that when I said it doesn't have a precedence or plan for success in terms of defeating an insurgency, that's what I was talking about. But I don't believe that the Israelis are attacking, or their objective is to destroy Hamas. So the objective is, again, as been explained by many of your reporters, to displace the population out of a Palestinian population out of Gaza, so they can be replaced by a largely Israeli population. And that way to continue to expand and consolidate land so that even a one-state solution, let alone the two-state solution that the Israeli politicians are now dismissing as a realistic option, even a one-state solution is no longer an option. And so to that end, the objective, or rather the objective is, as I've explained, to capture territory, but Hamas is merely a means to an end. And so I'm not sure that we should measure the success of the operation in terms of how many or how few Hamas fighters are left.
So is that what you think victory would look like then, to capture Gaza? And what do you think is Israel's timeline then for this war?
Well, the timeline has been explained by Prime Minister Netanyahu right from the outset. He said this is going to take a long time. More recently, he's talking about the whole year. And again, that is necessary for two parallel objectives. One is that Prime Minister Netanyahu was in enormous political trouble. It was effectively an existential threat for his career that he was facing. And this 7th of October attack has been a godsend for him in that it has distracted the legal processes that were taking place against him. And I think he knows that the only survival he has for at least a while is for this campaign to continue so that the country can be seen to be on a war footing. And so, of course, the opposition will have to be united behind him. And so I think that's one objective that dictates a long-term timeline. The other objective is that, of course, Israel cannot afford to continue the campaign at the current level, not just militarily, but also financially. The economy is grinding to a halt simply because a large number of reservists are out there. And secondly, as President Biden has mentioned on a couple of occasions, Israel is losing the public relations war. In fact, it has lost it. Just the whole world has turned against Israel, with the exception, of course, of the United States and to some degree the United Kingdom. And so both of those factors are driving a longer-term timeline than one would have imagined.
Now, you say that, Israel can't afford to continue, but as this conflict does rage on, we see that Gazans are, of course, being killed and displaced. Western countries are opposed to the relocation of Gazans. But is there for you a tipping point? What pressure could perhaps force Egypt to open its borders?
Well, that's a very good question, and I don't know the answer. I don't think anybody does. And I think the reason why Egypt will not open borders is because that will put the focus on Egypt. Already, the Arab countries in the region are under enormous pressure from their populations for not doing enough to put a stop to what they see as wanton murder of innocents. And so what we have here is a much more serious and underlying problem, and that is that the whole political strategy behind Israel's success so far has been based on using persuasion and coercion through primarily the United States to bring the Arab Middle Eastern states into line. The problem is that persuasion and that coercion has failed in this case for a number of reasons, one of which, of course, is that there is now a multipolar world with China, with Russia and other countries seeing the West very differently from the way they used to see them before. Secondly, the media landscape has changed hugely. There was a great deal of control of narrative, particularly in the Western world, particularly in the international community, and that has broken down. And that is a problem, not just, of course, for the Israelis and the United States, but it's a problem for the Arab and the largely Muslim countries, because people have access to largely reliable information showing the misery, the slaughter, the injustice, the apparent injustice of what is going on. And that means that the Arab countries, whether the leaderships, whether they like it or not, cannot afford to take a risk by allowing what would be an obvious Israeli policy of expulsion of Palestinians into their lands, achieving an aim that the Palestinian populations, particularly in Gaza, has fought for, given so many lives for, to retain their presence in this shrinking part of Palestine. They effectively will be working as agents, or seen to be working as agents of Israel and the United States. And for those reasons, I doubt if Egypt will open the borders. What it might do is open the borders to force in supplies and aid, and that, of course, would have different consequences with Israel and the United States intervening.
Indeed. Afzal Ashraf, we're going to have to leave it there, but thank you so much for your analysis on Israel's military operation. Thank you so much.